Tim, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Welcome to Chagrin Falls and the Documentary Film Festival.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You've done a great job here. It's really set up well. Nice. Love it.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And you know, our big focus is the filmmaker, which you're the subject of the film. You're not the filmmaker, but still, if you watch this film, you'll know that this is the guy that's making this happen. You know, we were talking off camera a little bit, and I want to hear first a little bit about the first documentary you took part in.
Yeah, the first one was called The Elephant in the Living Room. You can see it on Amazon for free now, but it came out about 12 years ago, and it was right before the Zanesville Massacre happened here in the state of Ohio. And actually, Roger Moore, the film review from down in Florida, he actually called our documentary and the trailer of the documentary the trailer in the movie that predicted the Zanesville Massacre. Wow, That's how effective our first documentary was, and it won the Genesis Award, which is the highest you can get with animal programming, beat Oceans from Disney.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, you get a chance to see the conservation game tomorrow at 12:40 at the Little Theater. So, but of course, you can also stream it online, sit at home in your jammies, and watch the movie as well. So, the first thing that came to mind when I watched this movie is that you and I had a common bond. In Marlon Perkins and Jacques Cousteau. My grandmother bought me National Geographic since I've been 11 years old. But you took your love of animals a lot further than I certainly did.
Yeah, I thought to myself, I'm going to be like Jack Hanna. I wanted to go out and educate and save these animals, and I was kind of on the front line a little bit. I worked for a veterinarian in high school, and we would go out and rescue an exotic animal that was loose. Somebody in the local law enforcement would call us up. It's always the cops that are the first one on the scene, never the zoos, when an animal gets loose, tigers. So we would go out and we'd help these guys out, right? So when he went off and married his high school sweetheart in Colorado, the police departments kept calling me, and I just fell into it. And then I started doing TV programs and showing the animals I rescued, and I just went from there.
You know, whenever I'm doing these interviews, and I know that there's probably people out there, maybe some have seen the movie and some haven't, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but at the same time, as I was thinking about your film, I felt this is going to be really hard for me to do because there's so many things that I want to know from you that I'm gonna kill some of the story for some people. But nevertheless, it's always a question for me, especially for you as a subject of the film. Did the film come to you, or did you go seeking to have the film made?
It was a process. That's a very good question. We knew something was wrong all these years. Now, I knew it was wrong. You know, see me in Ohio Magazine, since we're local. Ohio Magazine did an article about me way back in 2001, 7 pages. Spoke a little bit about this, but not in depth. I didn't know how bad it was until we started the investigation. Once we started the investigation, I realized, oh my God, endangered species are dying here in the United States by the hands of our conservationists on a rapid basis, well beyond what's happening in the wild from poachers. And I said, something has to be done. Funding came in. We decided we had to continue it. But we saw at that, as you see in the auction, we'll see somebody at an auction, exotic animal auction, which is horrible. It's a hell for animals, as quoted in the film. And here is one of your kids' top Disney, top Discovery Channel, top Animal Planet, animal conservationists and educators, they're selling his animals to the general public and buying new ones for TV.
And I'm sitting there just, my jaw was falling off the front of my face watching the film at that point. But I want to put you on the spot a little bit here, because as we watch the film, we learn that at some point in time that you too, I don't know if the word exploitation is the right word, but you were also in the public showing animals as well as a part of your career.
Absolutely. When I rescued these animals over the years, there was no place for them to go. Majority of them were put down, which means put to death, because there was no place and they're unhealthy. I got to a point where I started keeping some of the animals. Never bought an animal in my life. I would rescue something out of somebody's basement, a tiger, or I'd rescue an alligator. And then what I do is I started going on Channel 19, Fox, down in Cincinnati. I did that for 6 years. Daily Buzz was out of Dayton, Ohio at that time, national TV show. 2 years in a row, never repeated an animal. Twice a month I did those shows. Wow. And never repeated an animal. That's how many exotics were out there. So I thought I was educating the public. Turned out all I was doing is advertising for people wanting to get those animals.
Right. So was there a moment? I mean, was there is there the light bulb going on that you kind of triggered in your mind that I can't do this anymore, or I'm on the wrong side?
Yeah, it was there was a lot of light bulbs, but one that really popped was, as you'll see in the film, I lost a friend, a gentleman that actually imitated me. And you'll hear that in the film, and it's quite the story. And that really was the big light bulb that went off and said, I can't do this anymore. I got to start working to make sanctuaries better. I got to start working to develop things and make other things work for these animals and find retirement facilities and work with them instead of having to imitate Jack Hanna, imitate the people, because so many other people were getting hurt imitating what they were doing. When I became a police officer, firefighter, paramedic, it was extremely obvious after that, talking to other firefighters and police officers around the country, and they all have stories, and it's all sad.
You know, I think most of our viewers, and those of us who are not as close to it as you are, we have seen the animals on TV, and we consume that without necessarily thinking more about it. And we probably don't really know, kind of identify that there's a problem there. So obviously that's one of the things that's really brought to light in this movie. The other thing that how do you tell the good guys from the bad guys? How do we know, for example, are zoos a good thing for animal conservation?
Yes, AZA-accredited zoos, now that they've stepped up now after the film came out, they said, yes, the whole film's true, and we're backing the film, and we're using it as a tool now to clean up our act now, which I'm very impressed with that. The 3 zoos you have up here, Akron, Toledo, and Cleveland, are some of the best in the entire country. And I've worked with them in the past. They've helped me with animals that needed rescued. These are exceptional zoos, and I back them 100%. The ones you look out for, just like I said in Columbus, just when the film was shown there, I said, when you sit outside the driveway when everybody goes home from work, and you see people driving out in brand new Land Rovers and Lexuses, and it's supposed to be a non-profit zoo, there's something wrong there. When somebody has a multi-million-dollar ranch, $1 million home in Florida, and $1 million home in Dublin, Ohio, and he calls himself a conservationist, and he also is a zoo director, come on. Something's happened here. Somebody's getting money off of somebody's little backs, and usually it's the cubs.
And these are one of the things you're really going to want to see in this film is how those zoos were. I don't know, they were on the cusp in my mind as I was watching this movie. And of course, at the end, there was a lot of things that flushed out that cleared up the story. Tell me why it seems, you mentioned the Zanesville Massacre. Why is Ohio such a hotbed for exotic animal trade?
Well, it goes back years. We're talking 30, 40 years. We had no laws here. This was a place where all the breeders came, all the big wigs, all the people like Joe Exotic would come in here and get animals. We had the biggest auctions up in Mount Hope, Ohio, which is the Amish country, but it was actually roadside zoos, and sometimes credited zoos would bring in their zoo babies. When they're done with them, reach a certain size, we say expiration date, when they can't use them anymore for pay to play, get your pictures taken, make money off at VIP parties, they would dump them at those auctions and sell them out to the general public. That's how I got connected. And Mike Weber, the director, who did a beautiful job on this film. As you can tell, he's an artist by heart, but the story is just beautifully told. And we were there watching this happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of something that people and their minds can't wrap around it. Right. We saw those 2 worlds of the people that everybody loves, conservationists, come together with the Joe Exotics, the people off the Tiger King people. Right. And they're all connected together in an evil way. And the animals pay the price. They're the ones that end up being killed and hurt.
So obviously Tiger King, lots of people saw that. That was out there. Do you think that was a contributor to your cause, to help getting things move forward?
I don't know if it actually moved things forward. It made a hero out of Joe Exotic, which it's never done.
Very strange.
It's very strange. And we actually have people that hate Carol Baskin, who's in the film. And she's actually the woman that's actually helped architect the Big Cat Public Safety Act. And her and I are always out with Howard, her husband, and the International Fund for Animal Welfare. We're the ones on the front line fighting to stop this. Now you see why Joe had to try to kill her. Because as you saw in the film, the chronological order is she's supposed to be here. Oh, my way, we're going to kill her. All right, so that was done. She was supposed to be with us when we went to the House of Representatives. Can't go. She has to go to court to fight the guys trying to kill her. So it's constantly something like that trying to stop us. So it's really sad it ended up that way, that the film did that, but it did get people talking. Sometimes bad can come out of good.
You mentioned again off camera something about the exotical animal trade being the Wild West, and well,
yes.
isn't that a perfect example of, well, there's somebody in my way, we'll just kill them. So
yes.
Crazy. Yeah. The Big Cat Safety Act.
Yeah.
Again, without giving too much away, can you tell our viewers what's involved with that and where it stands.
Yeah, the Big Cat Public Safety Act, in 2020, we actually got it through the House. First time ever in animal legislation like that got that far through. And it's amazing. It brought tears in my eyes. Well, the session ran out. It didn't get to Senate. So now we have, because we had a lot of COVID problems, a lot of other things going on in the country, as we know. Now we're waiting for it to go to the next session, and we have a real good feel about it, because we showed this documentary in Washington, D.C. to the congressmen, politicians, congresswomen, the senators. Everybody got a chance to get a taste of this film there, had a big blowout. They all know it. We got a bunch of co-sponsors now, both Republican and Democrat, and it looks I'm very confident it's going to go back through the House again, and then it's going to go through the Senate.
So having that large group of politicians seeing this documentary is obviously a huge win. Mm-hmm. But it's even more of a huge win considering the history of what also happens, and I want you to explain what has happened in the past in Washington. Yeah,
in the past in Washington, D.C., nobody cares about the cats. You can go in there. We had a big cat law. They've been trying to pass it for years. Nothing's happening. Well, I hit up with Tippi Kendron, who used to be on The Birds. She was a last American diva, Hollywood diva, Tippi Kendron. We hooked up years ago, about 12, 13 years ago, and she started that law. I plugged in the public safety part of it because that's my expertise. And I did that around the country. Cleveland was the first city that we got the laws passed. Very first city back in 1999. So we took that ability we did there and what we did, that motif, and we took it around the country and started banging across the country and winning with it. So the public safety part got in there. Now the politicians had to listen. So we hooked them at where their soft spot was and able to get them to step up. So we did. It's becoming along. It took about 6 years or so to finally get it to this process. But yes.
Do you see a future where the exploitation of exotic animals comes to at least, if not a halt, a vast shutdown?
Well, look at the state of Ohio. Once we pass the laws here in the state of Ohio, no more auctions, no more. Very rarely you'll run into anything anymore. It can be done. And I can guarantee you right now, with Blackfish, The Cove, and everybody's telling us, even the people that did those movies are saying the conservation game's on the same level with The Cove. But we have actually done something within 48 hours after the film was released. No other documentary's ever done that. So it's like, bang, we've changed laws, we changed things that fast. It's one of those things where I think once it gets into the public, and once it becomes just like recycling, just like everything else, it becomes natural and we just do it. So right now, I really feel honestly, no more cubs will be killed.
Well, you can tell just from that this is a powerful movie that you need to see. And one last thing I want you to share with our viewers. You told me about, after your viewing last night, the experience you had coming out of the movie. I want you to share that.
Yeah, it was beautiful because people were coming up to us and they're like, what can we do? What can we do? I mean, they're really powerful. And I'm telling them, and everybody's listening out there, get in contact with your senators, get in contact with your congressmen and congresswomen and say, pass the Big Cat Public Safety Act. But the feeling that people had when they walked out, they were upset, but they weren't to a point like they couldn't do something. They knew they could do something, and they wanted to do something, and that's the feel I wanted. I got goosebumps right now thinking about it. The film is doing what it's supposed to do.
Well, that means we all need to go out and see it, and then we need to do something about it. So, Tim, thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, brother.